Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me, as always, is my colleague, my partner in crime, my friend, Mark Souza. How you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good.
Well, that's not good enough. We have a lot of fun today. We got a lot on our hands because the franchise window tag is officially open. Wait, the franchise tag window is officially open. That's the better way to put it. And everything's exciting because who's going to get franchise tagged? Who's going to be frustrated by being franchise tagged? Who's going to be happy by being franchise tagged? What does this mean for the next season? What does it mean for this season's free agent market? We will see because it's begun. But as always, when it comes to the franchise tag, you think of one man in the last couple of years.
Who's that?
That is Le'Veon Bell. Is he going? Because he has.
I haven't seen him play football in a long time. He's like out of sight, out of mind.
Yes, but he has one more year left of being franchise tagged, and then he's on his own from here, basically.
Well, yeah.
But the question is,
but he's not getting franchise tagged, so.
Well, there is still talks about him being. There's still a possibility of him being franchise tagged.
I have not heard that at all. Who said
Really?
that? Mm-hmm. Because
there's been also reports on like Bleacher Report and all those other sites like. It's not impossible for Le'Veon Bell not to be franchise tagged.
It's not impossible. Anything's possible. But I haven't heard literally a single thing like from any credible NFL reporter, journalist that says that the Steelers are even thinking of franchise tagging him. I know that he's been talked about as a transitional tag player, but definitely not a franchise tag. Is there something that I've been missing?
No, it just says there's just a report by Mark Chiari.
Who the hell is that?
From Bleacher Report, so bear with me. He says at least 10 players could reportedly receive a franchise or transition tag this offseason, and Le'Veon Bell is either the transition tag, and he could possibly still get a franchise tag, bottom line. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. Transitional tag, though, for sure, because that'll give the Steelers right of first refusal. They could match any offer that he gets. That's what a transitional tag is for the people who don't know. It basically puts a restricted free agent tag on somebody who's not technically a restricted free agent. It means that any team can sign Le'Veon Bell, but the Steelers could match that contract, or they could say, no, we're not going to pay that much, and you are free to move on, sir.
Yeah. We really have no idea how this is all going to go down because this whole relationship with Le'Veon and the Steelers is like one of those, like, you talk to your friend who's in a bad relationship. It's like, you got to get out of this, man. You two aren't happy, but they still stick around because they're like so stubborn they can't just get out of this relationship.
Well, it makes sense for the Steelers. I mean, it makes complete sense that they'd put a transitional tag. I mean, there's a possibility that there's that Le'Veon Bell doesn't get the huge long-term guaranteed deal that he's looking for, and then
what is it, like he wants like 4 years, $80 million, roughly around there?
I don't know, but there's a possibility that doesn't happen. I think it's a small possibility, but possibility nonetheless. And then it gives the Steelers be like, sure, we can actually pay you what that team's going to pay you. So yeah, let's do that. I don't think it'll happen. I do think that it is a damaged relationship considering he held out for an entire NFL season, a season in which the Steelers did not make the playoffs, surprisingly. Yeah, so we will see what happens with that. What about other players that are more likely to actually get a franchise tag, though, here in the coming days?
Well, that's the question. Do we really know who's available or who's going to be franchise tag? Because there's obviously a lot of Raven players that are going to be at the end of their contracts, as well as some Eagle players, most notably Nick Foles, that could be possibly franchise tagged because of the fact they are probably going to trade him for a good amount of, draft picks
Usually
mainly.
A franchise tag is the last resort, so it's not used right away. Like, yes, teams can start franchising players, but normally they go through contract negotiations, and then before free agency strikes, if they can't work out a deal, then they'll usually slap the tag on them.
But it seems like with the Nick Foles thing, they already have it planned to franchise tag him.
They could franchise him, or they could transitional tag him. Who knows?
Yeah, true. But there's still and then of course the Ravens with C.J. Mosley is at the end of his contract, as well as Terrell Suggs. Like, do you franchise tag one of those guys? So does Clowney from the Texans. Is he going to be one of those guys that gets a franchise tag? There's still a lot of unanswered questions with a lot of teams because whatever moves they make will affect their offseason and who they can get in the long run.
Yeah, I think DeMarcus Lawrence and Jadeveon Clowney are the two most likely to receive a franchise tag if they don't get a long-term deal here in the coming weeks. Obviously, we're talking about two guys, two of the better players at their positions, defensive end, a premium position in the league. DeMarcus Lawrence, just played last year under the franchise tag, so he is certainly a possibility to get tagged again if there's no long-term deal. He has 25 sacks over the last 2 seasons. That's tied for 4th in the league. He's hit the quarterback 49 times. That's 7th in the league in the last 2 years. He's an elite 4-3 defensive end. He's 27 years old. He's very young. He's been healthy and has stayed out of trouble the last couple of years. He was suspended 4 games in 2016 because of the substance abuse policy, but he has not missed a game in the last 2 seasons.
So what year where he's up? He does a lot of good things for a team, but he's not doing anything unique or special. He's just doing the tackles, which comes a given with his.
What do you mean? He's one of the best.
Oh, you're talking about Lawrence. I thought you were talking about somebody else. I apologize. I was thinking, for some reason, I thought you were about C.J. Mosley. Regardless, yes, DeMarcus Lawrence. I know they just have so many other players to look at, and with that, like we were talking about before on the sports podcast, we have they have Dak Prescott to look at next season, and Ezekiel Elliott to look at, and Amari Cooper. You're in a kind of a tight spot because do you pay him a lot this season and pay you can pay all these guys max contracts, there's no problem with that because it's the Cowboys after all, but do you do that though? Is it worth to get all these guys under max contract, or are they gonna risk letting one of these guys go for a better free agent in the long run?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because I know what you mean when you say max contract. You just mean a lot. There is no actual max.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I use the basketball term, but you know what I mean by that. Just a lot of money.
The Cowboys can certainly pay all 4 guys a lot of money. They have a lot of salary cap space. They're projected to have about $140 million next year. That's obviously not taking into account signing some of these guys early, like Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott, even Lawrence and Ezekiel Elliott. Honestly, if I was the Cowboys, I would sign Lawrence long term. I'd get that out of the way. I'd probably sign Ezekiel Elliott long term.
Well, Ezekiel Elliott's a given.
Well, I mean, it's not really a given. I mean,
if they don't, that's really stupid, in my opinion.
Well, it's one of those things where he plays a position that's a turn and burn position, right?
Yeah, but he's a top 5 running back in the league.
Sure, right now he is. Yeah, absolutely. So,
by next season, if he stays healthy, he's getting that contract.
Yeah, most likely. But, I mean, there's something to be said about running backs being a less of a priority than a lot of other positions. I personally would agree with that sentiment. I don't really like to spend a lot of money on a running back, even if it is a great one. But it is what it is. Maybe the Cowboys will think differently.
I was going to say, this is the Cowboys, and Jerry Jones loves to have some, he knows what a great running back is, basically.
But going back to what I was saying, I would pay Lawrence long term. I'd probably pay Ezekiel Elliott a reasonable contract, but maybe Ezekiel Elliott will go the Le'Veon Bell route. You just never know. Also, I think Dak Prescott would be a player that I would think about franchise tagging, honestly, because I might want to see what he can do before I give him all that money. And I know he has another year. This is a big year for Dak. But what if Dak is like mediocre again? Or what if he's slightly better? Maybe I slap the tag on him so I don't commit a long-term future to him, unless I'm supremely confident that he will be one of the top 5-6 quarterbacks in the NFL in the next 2 to 3 years. So I'm not so confident as of right now. I don't know what the Cowboys think. I have my questions about Dak Prescott, but I certainly would rather franchise tag the quarterback that I'm questionable on rather than the other 3 positions: wide receiver, running back, and defensive end.
Yeah, and like Dak Prescott, of course, his first season as a starter after Romo got hurt is like why he's still looked at as a top quarterback in the NFL, because he took a team to 13-3 and all this great stuff. But he's kind of had a little bit of a lull, if you ask me. Like, he kind of has been downhill a little bit, just because I think people kind of figured him out, in all honesty. But I think the bottom line is he has a lot to prove this next season if he wants to get that big contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically not an audition, but it's like a performance review.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the Cowboys have questions there. It's going to be super interesting to see what they do. I will assume right now that between those 4 players, Lawrence, Elliott, Prescott, and Amari Cooper, I think they're going to get 2 of them locked in this offseason for long-term deals. I would be surprised if they didn't get at least 2 of them locked in. Maybe they do all 3 and then they don't sign Prescott just yet. Who knows? But that's probably a likely scenario going forward. Jadeveon Clowney, though, he is obviously someone that I think the Texans want to commit to long term. He's 26 years old. He battled some injury issues early in his career, but he's been really healthy the last 2 years. He's only missed 1 game. He has 18.5 sacks, 42 quarterback hits during that time. But most notably, 21 tackles for loss, and that's the most in the NFL. He is probably the best defensive end against the run in the NFL, and he's one of the best pass rushers. Definitely more of a run stopper than a pass rusher, but he is a player that I think will absolutely get the tag if they cannot work out a long-term deal.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just one of those interesting situations in where it's just hard to really see what's actually going to happen. So I wish we had like an ear inside these meetings and all this good stuff that's about to take place, because there's obviously going to be talks before all this goes down, and that's usually how all this works, is there's a preemptive meeting and then they go from there. So how I see this happening is just, I honestly can see all 4 guys, like those big names like we said, Cooper, Elliott, Prescott, and Lawrence, being on the Cowboys next season, and the season for an extensive on the contracts. But it could also, we could lose. I think if anyone's quote unquote expendable, I think Amari Cooper's good. I know they give away a first round draft pick, I know, but Amari Cooper's going to be one where they're going to be we could probably part ways with this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next on the list, Frank Clark, defensive end, Seattle, 26 years old. Very consistent player. He has 32 sacks in the last 3 seasons. That's 9th. 66 hits. That's 10th in the last 3 years. He's a very good pass rusher, so I'm not sure. He is somebody who could be a franchise tag target.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
He also has produced a sack or a hit on 9% of his pass rush snaps. That's a better percentage than DeMarcus Lawrence and Dee Ford.
That's impressive, actually. Well, I mean, Dee Ford has kind of cheated being offsides this whole time. Ba-dum-bum-ch.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you're going to go do every time?
Yes, absolutely. Because he was 5 yards. Basically, he was way off the offsides that it hurt me physically.
Well, anyways, so Frank Clark, is he going to get tagged or what?
I will say there's a big chance he will, but again, I'm not going to say it's for certain yet. I think there's still a chance he won't be, but there is a very good chance he will be.
Yeah, he's 26. Maybe they work out a long-term deal with him.
Yeah.
He had red flags coming out of college, but he's been
relatively okay. Yeah, like again, it's always about like if you can stay out of trouble in the NFL, like a Reuben Foster type who had trouble in in college football, and everyone's like, oh, maybe he can change to the NFL, and that didn't actually work out. But but this guy actually has had a little bit of a turnaround in his personal life because I haven't heard anything about him getting in trouble in the NFL. Maybe a little, maybe something little here and there, but nothing major to cause a concern. So maybe that gets him an extension.
Yeah. So next on the list is D Ford, who you obviously have opinions about. He finished tied for 7th last year, 13.5 sacks, tied for 5th with 29 quarterback hits. He is a really good edge rusher. The Chiefs probably going to transition to a 4-3 defense with their new defense corner, Steve Spagnuolo. But he's certainly a player he's 28 years old. He's a big time franchise tag candidate in my opinion.
Yes, he is. And those of you who don't know, he was the guy that went outside in the AFC title game after an
insist. Say it again.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remind people.
More time.
He was offsides by a long shot in the interception play that could have sealed the game for the Kansas City Chiefs, took him to the Super Bowl. So you can thank him for Brady's 6th Super Bowl in theory.
So anyways,
did you know he was offsides? Okay, now I'm done. Anyways, I obviously think he's going to be franchise tagged. I don't think he's leaving the Chiefs. He was a big part of their defense during their
long-term deal.
That is to be determined. I think it's going to happen, but I think it's probably going to happen after this franchise tag this season. But again, I feel like a franchise tag is always like a performance review type of thing, in where like how you do this season will determine if we're going to keep you on that franchise tag or not, or we're signing you to actually a very extensive contract.
What about Earl Thomas? Is he going to get let go?
No, he's gone. After he left Carter off the field the last time we saw that, yeah. No, he's not playing for I'm going to say there's a 99.9% chance that he's not playing for Seattle next season.
Right. I mean, it really wouldn't be his choice, but I agree.
But he did, well, I think what really sealed it all, he flipped off his team. He flipped off his own sideline. That's what really I thought was like, that's a done deal now.
Yeah. All right. So obviously we got to talk about Nick Foles. Will he get franchise tag? Probably. It doesn't look like he'll be a transitional tag, be a franchise tag. And then the Eagles will like to move him in a trade.
Honestly, he might be trade like. Can you trade players during the draft? Is that possible?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah, I'm just because I know in basketball you can't do it.
I believe March 13th is when the window opens for free agency.
I think
you can start signing and trading, and then the draft is in the end of April.
Honestly, during the draft, I think is a good chance for him to get traded because of the fact like it's like last minute kind of things. Everyone's like kind of in a panic when it comes to like getting good draft picks and whatnot. So he might be given for a first round pick by a team. I don't see why that's not possible because of the fact he did get a Super Bowl MVP. So I think there are going to be some teams clawing for him, and I think they're going to be maybe not in panic mode, but it's going to be one of those things where they're going to offer maybe too much for him.
Yeah, he's a possibility for sure. I think that's a foregone conclusion. I think of all the players, he's the one that's the most likely to get tagged. I mean, look, they want to keep him just so they can trade him. They don't want to lose his value, but at the same time, I don't know what he's really going to get in return. We've talked about it before. I really don't know what the trade market is for Nick Foles. It's easy to say, yeah, he's a Super Bowl MVP, but, he's also a guy that's played on a few different teams. He's also in his 30s. I don't know. I don't know what gets it done. Maybe a couple second-round picks. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think if it's going to be a first, it's going to be a desperate team. Because I could just, Amari Cooper was traded for a first-round pick. So I'm saying it's not impossible. I mean, I think it's a little crazier that Amari Cooper got traded for a first-round draft pick, in my personal opinion. Yeah. But,
Cooper was a first-round pick, and he's also super young.
Yes, but Nick Foles was Super Bowl MVP, so it kind of goes hand in hand in that situation, in my opinion.
Amari Cooper is as young as a lot of the rookies coming into the NFL draft.
True, but I still didn't think he was a first-round pick in the And
yeah, it's fun to talk about Nick Foles, being a Super Bowl MVP, but he's also not been a starting quarterback for almost his entire career, So, that's isn't that kind of a red flag, too?
Yeah, there's just...
there's no guarantee that Nick Foles is going to be a good quarterback.
Oh, absolutely not. There's no doubt about that, but okay, so if you give up a second and a third, is that too much still? To you?
For Foles?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think it's too much. Obviously it depends on the team, too. But, like we've talked about in the past, it seems like the teams that could give him the most are going to be teams in the division, or give the Eagles the most are going to be divisional rivals. It just
the
really
Redskins.
Seems that
you
way.
just could
or the Giants.
Yeah, the Giants are too, no doubt about it.
The Giants like tall quarterbacks. Nick Foles is a tall quarterback. I'm not saying that they're going to go after Nick Foles, but of all the teams in it, there's only really 3 teams that really make a whole lot of sense. Jacksonville being the only one out of the division. The other 2, Giants and Redskins. Those are the 3 that make sense. The other teams don't. Miami doesn't make sense. Denver already is out of the Nick Foles chase.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no other team.
Unless they do it again and just trade for Flacco and Foles in the most absurd offseason ever by one team. Because John Elway would be that. If anyone would trade for 2 quarterbacks, I feel like John Elway would be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Or, the Browns. But I don't think the Browns are a joke anymore, so I'm not going to say that anymore. They're fine with Baker Mayfield. Honestly, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They're going to win the AFC North. That's just my opinion. But yes, again, there is some slim pickings when it comes to Nick Foles and his future destination. Who knows? Maybe he spends the entire year as still the backup for Carson Wentz. I know that's a waste of money for the Eagles, but that might have to happen.
Yeah, for sure. So,
we can't leave that out.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it's going to happen, don't get me wrong, but can't leave out the fact that he could still be an Eagle by next season.
Who's this?
Nick Foles.
You think he's going to be an Eagle by next season?
No, he'll there's a possibility where he might just have to stay as their backup because they couldn't find a suitor.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You just said and you were just then actually I said it twice.
I was listening to you, but I don't see how they could possibly do that. But
I know that money wise, it's not gonna be hard, but
they'd be $40 million over the cap at that point.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be it's a long tall glass. It's probably not gonna happen, but I don't know if they'll find suitors or by that point. It's gonna be hard to find if they're not gonna trade within their division. It's still slim pickings, like I said. So they might just be stuck.
They're not in a strong negotiating spot. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's why they're
kind of why I was saying that they might not have a choice but to trade inside their division.
Yeah,
they just might not have a choice.
I'm saying that's why I'm saying they're kind of stuck. They might be too stubborn to. Who knows? But they are stuck.
But I don't even see how it's even logically possible that he's on the Eagles at the start of the season. Just what are they going to do? Cut 10 players to keep Nick Foles as a backup quarterback? That doesn't seem. It doesn't seem like they could even do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not even logical. I don't even think it's feasible. I don't even think the numbers would work. I don't know who they'd have to let go, but
maybe
half the team have a huge dead cap hit. You're not even.
Well, if they couldn't find anyone for Foles, and Is it possible? Like, I'm not sure how it all would work, but would it be possible to cut him if they couldn't find anyone just to save money on that situation?
Yeah, they could cut him.
I mean, I guess that might what it might be leading to, huh? Because if they can't find any suitors and they don't want to do it,
The fact of the matter is they might have to take like a 5th-round pick for Nick Foles if no one ponies up. Like that's just it is what it is.
Like to get him out, like even out of the division, just afford like a conditional 5th-round pick, just so he's not even with the Giants or the Redskins still.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to give rid of.
So what if your only options was the Redskins offering you 2 second-round picks or the Jaguars offering you 1 4th-round pick? What would you do if you're the Eagles?
Well, how good Alex Smith did with the Redskins were honestly division favorites with Alex Smith, believe it or not, when he was doing well before he got hurt.
Which trade would you do for the Eagles?
I hate to say this. I know this sounds crazy, but I'll have to go with the Jaguars. Just I don't want him in my division.
Dang. 2 second-round picks, so it'd be pretty nice.
Yes, it would be, but Nick Foles in the AFC South rather than my same division, I would prefer.
What if the Redskins are offering you a 1st-round pick?
Oh, you got to take that then. You can't.
The price of the 1st-round pick.
That would be the line. Yes. I understand 2 seconds is like just as important or just as crucial or whatever.
Really nice.
But a 1st-round pick is a whole different story. Your own 1st-round pick and your division rival's 1st-round pick, that is a lot. Over 2 second-round picks.
Yeah. I have no idea what kind of offers they'll see for Nick Foles. It's actually very intriguing. We do need to take a break, though. When we come back, we'll talk about Odell Beckham Jr. We'll talk about Antonio Brown. The AAF is also a topic we need to discuss, and other news in the NFL and in regards to football in general.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just finished talking about the franchise tag officially being open. The window is open now for an advantage to take advantage of this situation. Now we are going to move on to our next topic, and that's the AAF.
Yes. The AAF. You want to talk about it?
Oh, I'll let you go.
Why is that?
Because you have the information right now on your phone. I can see it.
Oh, but you did such a good job explaining it already.
Continue.
Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon has made a $250 million investment into the upstart Alliance of American Football and will become the league's new chairman. This is after reportedly the AAF has been in some financial problems just 2 weeks into their inaugural season. Some week one checks were actually bounced to some players. So they've had some payroll issues. Now, the league did cite that it was a payroll issue, not a actual funding issue. But with that being said, the AAF has more stability now with a $250 million investment from, again, Carolina Hurricanes and the NHL, their owner, Tom Dundon.
So, what? I guess he's the chairman now, right? That's what what it leads to. he obviously sees something positive in this league. I think everyone does, to be completely honest with you. But bottom line is, gosh, is this going to be done by before the season ends? Because it almost already has happened.
Is this going to be done? What do you mean, the league going to fold?
It's like the league just almost folded just now, correct?
I mean, I don't know. They're in financial problems. I don't know how close they were to folding. No, I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems like there's some concerns about this whole league.
But they do have more stability now. But I would be shocked if they didn't have a plan in place, even if they didn't get a new lead investor, because I mean, obviously they've gotten loans and things like that, so it's not like banks are just giving them money without a business plan. So I really don't know. I mean, this is obviously just me speculating.
True.
But yeah, it looks like the AAF will have more stability now with this investment. Who knows? Tom Dundon is not only the former CEO of the Dallas-based lending firm Santander Consumer USA. Also, we talked about him being the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes. He is also the primary investor in Topgolf.
Oh, wow, really? Mm-hmm. That is a big successful thing.
The Hurricanes have not made the playoffs since 2009, which is the longest drought in the NHL.
Yep, they've won a Stanley Cup, though, and that's more that the Blues and the Sharks and some other teams can say. So,
Dundon's NHL team, the Carolina Hurricanes, has elaborate post-game celebrations after wins, which I have not heard about. But apparently they're notorious in the NHL for this. Interesting. Anyways, Odell Beckham Jr., we hear he's back on the trade block. Is this bull crap or is this real?
I think it's bull true.
He just signed that big deal about a year ago.
Yeah, but it keeps going on and off and on and off. It just seems like it's like the Antonio Brown situation. It feels like sooner or later this is actually going to happen.
But is it like something that's like driven up by speculation, or is there stuff actually from the team? Because last year we heard their general manager just criticize everybody who said that he was on the trading block. He's never been on the trading block.
Yeah, but I feel like that makes him more like if he's calling them out like, oh, this is so untrue. It always feels like to me that's like, are you hiding something? Why are you be bashfuling us?
So when is there a situation where it's all media driven and it's actually crap and there's no smoke, or there's no fire where there's smoke? Because not every single time that a player is on the block, it's legit, right?
Oh, absolutely not. But
I'm wondering why you think this is more legit than maybe like another random one.
It keeps going, like, it just keeps, like, usually after another one, it just goes away, and it kind of comes back, but it never really does. This one has come off and on for a long period of time now, and it's got to be true at least one of the times. Maybe it's not true right now, but there's been too many times where he's been on and off the trade block that's getting kind of ridiculous now.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also New York, you know? Well, you got to take that into account, right? Like,
what do you got against New York City?
I have nothing against New York City. What I'm talking about is we know how their media is. It's a shark-infested waters.
I think that's just media in general, though.
But in New York, it's amplified. Like, that's a big thing. That's a big reason why people are wondering if Kevin Durant will be able to survive in New York if he does, in fact, sign with them as a free agent.
Oh, I would love it.
I know that's a basketball topic, but the New York media market is notoriously the toughest and just the biggest. I mean, you have people with cameras and microphones in front of your face that they don't have in L.A. even, or even in the Bay Area or anywhere else like that.
Kevin Durant everyone knows he has thin skin. He might cry.
Now, the Patriots were trying aggressively to get Odell Beckham last year.
I saw that. I guess that was during the Josh Gordon trade.
Of course, you know, the 49ers come up as a potential trade. We've heard that the 49ers were very interested in trading for him last year, and now they're talking about possibly swapping first-round picks and Odell Beckham, so the 49ers would move to pick 5, get Odell Beckham, and the Giants to get pick number 2.
The Niners win that.
It's something that might be on the table. Who knows?
Well, or if that trade does happen, who do you think wins that? Is it better for the Giants or better for the Niners? Because I think only going down 3 spots and getting a top-tier wide receiver, that's a win-win for the 49ers.
Probably the 49ers, but yeah, you just have to wonder about Odell Beckham.
It is the number 2 pick. It's very worthy. It's a very high pick. And maybe the Niners lose on like a Josh Allen or a Quinnen Williams or something, but there's still so many other great talents still left in the draft. And like you can see them going and picking Greedy Williams because they still need some help in the secondary for Richard Sherman on the other side. So it could help benefit the 49ers. But also you got to look at the facts that if they do lose Odell Beckham Jr., or are they going to draft a quarterback in the first round with that number 2 pick?
Maybe the Giants don't even want to do that trade at all because maybe it's not worth to move up 3 spots.
What are they going to plan on getting in the head of those 3 spots? Like, what are they going to do to boost their team? Because they're saying they're going to draft a quarterback, but this is a defensive-headed draft. So I guess if they move up 3 spots, they'll get one of those defensive prospects in a Josh Allen or a Quinnen Williams or something.
I wonder if the Niners will even get a wide receiver via trade this year, since they're just apparently the destination for every big-name wide receiver. It would just be like something if they don't get anyone.
Imagine if they get both Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh, great.
Just imagine how dominant that team would be.
If they didn't destroy themselves, right?
They trade only like a 5th conditional pick for Antonio Brown, and then
if those 2 players, I mean, that's a
don't
lot of personality in the room.
Yeah, but
you got 2 alphas in the room. Usually that doesn't work,
but maybe it's just new scenery and just new opportunities. Who knows?
I mean, I understand, but it's also one of those things where it's not a video game. Like if it was
it is a video game. Just let me have this.
If it was a video game, then it would work out great. You'd have Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown, and one of them would be open down the field pretty much every single play. But,
yes.
Oh, and then if they were covered, you just throw the ball to George Kittle, I guess.
Oh, I forget. Yeah. Or a Marquise Goodwin, who also is going to run down the stretch on the opposite side that no one else is paying attention to.
Yeah, so in a perfect video game world, it would be great, but in real life, I'm sure they'd probably rip each other's heads off all the time. So
I think you're not giving them enough credit. Maybe they're better off together than you think. I know about the personalities.
The 2 biggest divas in the NFL, like maybe
granted, but maybe it's one of those things where there's so
football.
Okay, there's maybe just so many combustible elements that it almost cancels each other out.
That's interesting. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So much combustible material that nothing combusts.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know, man. I feel like that the Giants...
If you expect chaos, sometimes it'll never... If you expect what's going to happen, it might not happen that way.
I feel like the Giants are just... It's always gonna be rumored that Odell Beckham's on the move. Like that's just always gonna be a thing, whether it's BS or legit.
Well, let me ask you this: if the Eagles do that franchise tag on Nick Foles, and they want Nick Foles, the Giants, that is.
No, not happening.
You didn't let me finish.
Going where I think you're going?
Where was I gonna go? Tell me.
Trade Foles for Odell Beckham Jr.
I was gonna say trade Foles, Odell Beckham Jr. for Foles, but you put words in my mouth.
Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it?
I mean, it would.
I mean, that would be fun for us. Like that is a dramatic trade. Like there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of drama when it comes to that with the Eagles and the Giants making a blockbuster trade like that.
Yes, well, maybe, but I'm not going to rule it out as impossible because anything is possible.
Mm-hmm. Calais Campbell will remain a Jacksonville Jaguar. The Jaguars had a team option on him, and they picked it up. So he's going to make $12 million this coming year.
It's a lot of millions.
And then he's going to make $15 million in 2020. What do you think about those numbers?
I would not be complaining.
Complaining for who? Him or them?
Both.
$15 million, a lot. Calais Campbell will be 34 years old in 2020.
Yeah, but he's kind of a leader of that team, He's kind of a mentor, in that circumstance. So I feel like getting rid of him will kind of put a damper on morale in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to just think about everyone else in that situation.
Yeah, he is certainly one of the leaders of that defense. A defense looking to rebound from this last year. They were so dominant 2 years ago, almost went to the Super Bowl. Led by Blake Bortles. That's how good that defense was. They almost took Blake Bortles to the Super Bowl, believe it or not.
Let that one sink in for a split second.
Yeah. We should take a break while everybody lets that sink in. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about another Cowboys making a decision on a wide receiver. So news regarding a starter for the Cowboys that they have made a decision on his future. Also, Kyler Murray news when we return.
Yes, but once again, let it sink in that Blake Bortles was almost a quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Guys, I forgot about something. Rex Grossman was also in the Super Bowl. Mark just told me as we were on break. Let that one sink in. Blake Bortles almost was in one. Rex Grossman was in a Super Bowl.
Yes, he was.
What planet do we live on?
Earth.
This is a weird, weird, weird place. Who's next going to be a quarterback in the Super Bowl? Jamarcus Russell?
Probably not.
If he becomes a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl in the next 10 years, I'll rip off my ears and eat them.
That's disgusting.
I know. That's how far I'm willing to take this.
Ew.
Or I'll just jump off the Empire State Building and land on a bicycle with no seat on my face.
Wow.
Yes. That's how unlikely that is.
The Cowboys have made a decision on a starting receiver, and is not the one you're thinking of.
Oh, ooh.
It is not Amari Cooper. Terrence Williams. It will now be a free agent.
Is that really a star receiver?
I said starter.
Oh, I thought you said star. I was like, that's not a star. Silly goose.
It is not a star. He will now hit the free agent market. I don't know what his value is. He's a guy that is about a 40 to 50 reception guy. I think he's scored over 5 touchdowns once in his career. But the Cowboys are saving about $3.5 million with this move, which maybe will be shifted to Amari Cooper. Who knows? Maybe they'll move some of that money to their young wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Young, attractive, good looking. What are we talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyways.
You hear about Josh Allen, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, how he trolled Jalen Ramsey?
How did he troll Jalen Ramsey? Tell me.
You know how Jalen Ramsey called him trash?
Yeah.
And then the Bills went out and beat the Jaguars?
Yeah.
Well, Oh, that was in that GQ. I remember that. That was that GQ article where Ramsey called Allen trash. Yeah, so Josh Allen autographed a picture of him. A fan gave Josh Allen a picture of him. He autographed it, and he wrote, "Hey, Ramsey, am I still trash?" Because it was a picture of him during the Jaguars game. And then he signed it, gave it to the fan. So that has
LOL.
That has gained attention, is all over social media now. What do you think about that? What do you think about Josh Allen dishing it back to Jalen Ramsey?
I think it's great because Jalen Ramsey is one of those guys that likes to talk trash, and it's good that some people have the guts to talk it back, especially a rookie in Josh Allen.
Jalen Ramsey is an interesting name, too, because there's been rumors that the Jaguars might trade him because he's just kind of like a malcontent. Like, he might want to
just
go
a big
else.
mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's just his trash talking, his arrogance?
I think he's really good. I'll tell you right now.
No, I think he's great. I think he's a top 5 corner in the NFL, no question about it.
I would say if I had to rate...
But is it worth the headache?
I think he's more worth the headache than Odell and Antonio.
That's saying a lot.
Well, he might be the best corner in the NFL.
Yeah, but I would say he might be he might be the biggest headache in the NFL. You can argue that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think he really does too much stuff on the field. Like I don't see him like screaming at teammates like I do with Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham's always throwing tantrums on the sideline, right?
He hit the net. I know exactly what you're going for. Yeah. I was gonna say like he abused nets.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but I think but we don't know what Jalen Ramsey really does in the locker room. Like we don't hear about things, but we never know what actually is the things.
Yep.
So could be secretive complaining.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's not the easiest player to deal with. That's for sure.
Yeah, and he's 23?
He's also, like, I just think that, in my opinion, like, an elite corner is more important than an elite wide receiver. Like, if I had to...
I think that's debatable, but I understand I think other people would say, yeah, maybe it is better to have a standout wide receiver to rely on in a big-time situation, but you can also argue the fact with the other way around with the corner.
Yeah, it's just the fact that, like, it's such a passing league, and if you can get a corner... Like, receivers aren't that valuable in this league. Like, they just aren't. Like, they're great to have, but you can get by with pretty average wide receivers. Like, you can have a really good passing game with really average wide receivers. It's actually insanely difficult to have a great pass defense without really good cornerbacks. Like, I can't think of any defenses that are good without really good corners, you know?
You said the thing about the wide receivers, if they're, like, average wide receivers and get all this good stuff.
Yeah, because there's a lot of them.
Just imagine if you have a great receiver. Wouldn't that make your team even better?
It helps, for sure. There's just, like, not really a correlation that's, like, you need to have great receivers to have a great offense or a great team. But defensively speaking, most of the defenses that I can think of that have great defenses, they've always had at least one great corner.
True. Yes, and
like Seattle had Richard Sherman, you know.
But wouldn't that make in theory?
Jaguars had Ramsey and AJ.
Well, let me tell you this: there is a big time corner coming into the draft named Greedy Williams. So, and he's in roughly around the spot projected where the Jaguars are. So, in theory, can't you see them actually trading Ramsey for a good a couple, maybe a first round pick or two, or maybe something of that nature, and getting Greedy Williams, and still you have that still good quarterback tandem because they also have still a positive quarterback corner on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, they could. They might do that. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not like it would be insane if they do it because of the fact there is I've never seen a cornerback this highly touted in the draft since Deion Sanders. So it's possible they could pull this off this year if they wanted to, honestly. Because I feel like Greedy Williams, a 6'3 corner, is a great replacement if you needed to replace Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're in a good position to trade Ramsey for something and then still getting a cornerback to replace him.
Absolutely.
But we don't know how good Greedy Williams is. We know how good Jalen Ramsey is. Like that's
True.
just,
Very true. Very
Greedy
true.
Williams looks great. I'm a big fan of his. I think that he's a slam dunk player for almost every NFL team, if I'm being honest. But, at the same time, sometimes you miss on prospects. You just think that they're going to be great. Maybe they are. Maybe they aren't. But Ramsey's been everything expected of him so far. So, he is a headache sometimes, but you'll deal with it if he can keep playing at elite level. So, anyways, Kyler Murray may not throw at the combine. He may not participate in any drills whatsoever. What do you think about that?
That might hurt him, honestly, because I know everyone thinks he's this great guy, but I think he still needs to impress some people when it comes down to it, because if he just shows his height, people are just going to drop him in their mock drafts and their big boards, wouldn't they? In theory.
Look, there's only one number that means anything at the pro day or at the combine for Kyler Murray, and that's the height. That's it. Nobody cares about anything else. They can see him throw on tape. They can see him throw at his pro day. What everybody's going to be looking at is when that dude stands up and they measure his height. That's all that anyone's going to think and anyone's going to care about. Because if it says 5'10" or more, I think most people like him as a prospect. If it says 5'9" or lower, I think half the NFL teams write him off. That's just how I feel. And the other half, maybe 2 or 3 don't care, and the rest do care a little bit. So,
yeah, but I just, as a 5'8" guy myself, I always hope for the best when it comes to the short guy. So if Kyler Murray does get drafted and he does well, he will make us, the little guys, feel a lot better. So, Go Kyler Murray.
Anyways, that's our show today. Join us on Thursday as we come back to
that will be your last day, won't it?
It will.
Yes, it's we're reaching the end of the Mark Souza era as we know it. And as always, I'm Jeff Malinoff, and that's Mark Souza for now, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.